because it's not as simple as just like, oh, start the lathe and cut the thing. Like anybody can do that,
Sure.
right? But like my favorite cutting engineers are the ones that are like additive to the process. It really is an art form to cut a record. And it is an art form to press a record as well. I'm going to tell you a little secret. I actually don't really like records that much as a format. Vinyl records are pretty much the only way that an artist can recoup the cost of coming into a studio like this and paying engineers, paying studio time, paying producers. It's the thing that they can control how many they make, where they sell it, and for how much.
Every time I speak to you, you're kind of got a totally new to me, because I speak to you every kind of 2-year intervals or something. So you're living in a different place. You've got a different business every time. So what you got going on right now?
Well, I mean, I've been in Nashville now for 7 years, so I've been here for a while, which is good. And I'm still mastering, just because I have a great clientele and I enjoy doing it and it pays my bills and all that. But for the last 5-6 years, we've been working on building a record pressing facility here in Nashville. And that's my wife.
Sorry. Say hi.
No, I can't.
Put her on speaker.
So yeah, we've been working on building a record pressing facility here in Nashville. It's called Physical Music Products. And when we were beginning the build, it was the beginning of pandemic. And so it was really hard to get it started. And I had been involved as one of 6 partners in a facility in the Bay Area before I moved out here to Nashville. So I kind of knew generally what I needed to do to get this thing off the ground, but it was not anything like what I bargained for. I mean, it was really, really hard.
At the worst possible time, I suppose, when the world went nuts.
Yeah. And I had already, started building. I'd already committed to doing it. I already had bought equipment before like lockdown happened. So it wasn't like I could just go, okay, fine. We're just going to lose a few $100,000 and just wait this thing out. It wasn't, I had a lease, I had equipment, I had a staff that I was hiring, like a build out that was already happening. And then pandemic, really stopped everything. But luckily we were in a situation where we were considered one of those, need to keep going businesses here. So we fell into a very specific loophole. Like I was very lucky, that I was able to continue operations, with a really, really small, group, like it was literally 3 of us that were just banging around this 20,000 square foot building every day for like a year and a half building this thing. But yeah, I mean, we ended up opening and pressing records and just never stopped. So yeah, we're in year 4 of record pressing now, technically, and getting ready for another growth period. So
amazing.
When we talk next in 2 years, I'll be in another space, another building, and we'll be here in Nashville, but we're getting ready to grow and move into a bigger, more appropriate space for what we're doing.
Amazing.
What was the inspiration for starting up your own pressing plant?
Ooh. Well, it was multi-tiered inspiration, honestly. I've always been really mechanically inclined and really into machines and robotics and electronics and things like that. When I went to school, my undergrad, I originally was going for electrical engineering.
Okay.
And so, in mastering, I love it. It's an amazing process. It's very cool that I've been able to build a career doing it. Now going on 15 years, mastering full time. It's really wonderful, but I always kind of, I'm just like sort of sitting in a chair all day, and doing these very technical things, but very heady. And so when I got involved in this other plant in the Bay Area, I was involved in a lot of the build out, and it just scratched an itch that mastering wasn't doing for me.
Nice.
So that's one thing. The other thing is, my original drive to get involved in vinyl specifically, is because I had always wanted to cut records, and every place that I have moved to be able to work on vinyl records, something has like kind of slipped out from under me. So like I moved to the Bay Area to work on a lathe that was in the studio that I had moved there to work out of. And then within like a month of me moving there, there was a falling out and the lathe got moved to like an hour away from where I, like, literally, it was just like, oh, okay.
Typical. Yeah.
It all worked out and everything was, fine in the end. But then, so I ended up kind of, being mentored by that gentleman in the Bay, and kind of, I just fell in love with the process of cutting records. And so then as I'm getting more involved in cutting records for clients, and like, being more hands-on as a mastering engineer with the lacquer cutters that I was using to send clients' masters away for pressing, I realized that there was a huge deficit in communication and quality. And of course, all the, timeline and money was driven by those two big problems in the vinyl pressing industry. And so I got involved and I built a bunch of technology for quality control in record plants. I did it with a couple different plants in Southern California that were very open to me coming in and working with them, because at the time, like, this was almost 10 years ago now, no one even dropped a stylus on a record regularly in the plant and then recorded the output.
Right.
There was only ever when there was a problem, then the mastering engineer would capture the output of a test press and then send it back to the plant and say, that pop at 3 minutes and 28 seconds on the A side, this is it.
Oh my God.
And then the record plant would have to take time to pull that pressing and figure out where the issue was. And on average, even just to find one pop, if it was localized within like a 20-second area on the disc, it would still take about 20 minutes for a skilled QC person in the plant to find that issue and deduce, is it an issue on the master, on the metal mother-father stamper, or is it an issue just on that one copy of the test press? It was just wasting all this time. So I built a bunch of technology for recording and comparing the outputs of a bunch of decks. Like, we built a matrix to say, like, all right, compare table A to table B, table A to table C, table B to table C, blah, blah, blah. And then a bunch of just locking that audio together and doing null tests across the whole thing.
So you can do like
and no one had ever, I mean, this was like super simple for anyone who's ever worked in software. You'd think that that would be like, it was a no-brainer to me, and I could not believe that had not been done yet. Wow. And so that's a system that I designed.
Nice.
And we still use it every day at PMP. But
is it sort of proprietary? Is it something that you're going to provide to other people?
When I first built it, I really thought that I would want to provide it to everybody.
Yeah.
We went through a very difficult time in that first plant that I had. It was like, I mean, it made the Firefest documentary look like a children's show. It was wild. So I had to like literally buy this thing that I built out of the bankruptcy court. And so when I finally did that, and now having paid for it literally twice myself, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to hold on to it. It's not something I want to try and market and license out to other plants. There's not really a reason to do that while I'm also trying to build my own plant. I'm just going to use it there. So it is proprietary. It's something that I built, but it is something that is very shareable if anybody ever, wanted to work with it.
It's a different type of business, isn't it? It's like, you're like, I want to run this record plant. It's like, okay, there is this other business idea that has emerged where you could sell this aspect of the process.
Which is when
you'd be running that business.
Exactly. And that's when I designed it. That was my goal, was to build that and then just share it with all these plants and mastering engineers that be able to have a very clear communication, not unlike what you guys have built for, just audio collaboration, but for empirical. This is the data. This is what we made. This is what we pressed. For something that's an organic and a live process, it was like as data driven as possible, and that had not been done. So then when I moved out here to Nashville, I started getting hit up. Hey, are you going to build your own plant now? And so I didn't necessarily feel like I wanted to then start selling this technology to other places that would, it was sort of my cutting edge on building my plant. But I really didn't want to have to run a record plant every day. I really, even up till like 2020, I really thought I was just going to be a partner in another plant and doing all of my technology stuff. And it turned out that I just through just a bunch of crazy circumstances, I just had to run the thing. And I had to push it along and build it and run it. And now it's the thing that I spend Monday through Thursday, 16 hours a day doing, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm on the west side of town mastering and seeing my wife sometimes. And but I did
playing softball occasionally.
Playing softball, yeah. But I basically realized that vinyl records are, I mean, there's no hard and fast on this, but like vinyl records are pretty much the only way that an artist can recoup the cost of coming into a studio like this and paying engineers, paying studio time, paying producers. It's the thing that they can control how many they make, where they sell it, and for how much.
Yeah.
So, you know, it kind of took that streaming, the model of streaming where you're not really making any money on the music itself. And it's now vinyl records have become, you know, a merchandise, like a commodity that you can buy as a patron of the artist. And you can show them that you support them, and you can have something that they made for you, the fan.
Yeah,
that's really what drives me is like building this technology, building it to be easier for independent artists specifically to have records made then that they can sell to their fans and patrons, and then to be able to come back and either make more records with me or hire engineers to make another round of music.
How kind of like, you know, because one of the difficult things again for like an independent artist is small runs, you know, and things like that, and you know, additional costs of like, okay, you want this kind of sleeve or you want to print it this way and things like that. How you know, is that another part of the process that you've looked at and tried to figure out?
Yeah, we also, I mean, this doesn't have to be a commercial for physical music products, but I mean, I'll tell you all the things that we do.
We love it.
I'll tell you all the things. I mean, there's like 42. I think I boiled it down to like as simple as possible. There's like 42 steps to make a record. If you're walking into me and you say, I've got 10 songs and a picture of me in a bikini on a beach, and some liner notes in the end, and I have a place for you to ship the records to, like, we can do everything.
Doing the artwork as well.
Everything.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. So the way that I built this company was not to rely on any brokers, and to do as much that makes sense to do in-house ourselves. So we print our own center labels. We contract directly with print vendors that we know are reliable. We grind our own compound. We are very hands-on in the lacquer creation, mastering, and stamper process. We handle all the shipping as well. We also do direct-to-fan fulfillment and distribution on behalf of the artist. So like all these pain points that make it really, really hard to, like a high barrier for entry for an independent artist or label to have vinyl records made. Those are the things that I kept trying to knock out and solve ahead of time. Before I even opened this record plant, we had already locked in on exactly how to do all that stuff.
It sounds like because you have control of so much of the supply chain, so therefore you don't have those unforeseen costs and sudden, you know, like, now this is totally changed.
Exactly.
And dramatic. Yeah.
And we're also, I mean, you know, to be fair too, I mean, like we don't have to do everything. We're not like a little boutique, tiny little place. We're a major facility. I mean, we're considered a medium large size plant. We have a lot of equipment online. We have a large building, a lot of staff.
What does that mean in terms of like per week, per day, per month? Like,
well, I mean, every week is a little different. You know, we might get a call for, you know, I mean, one week we got a call for, we need 10,000 Isaiah Rashads back in like 2.5 weeks, and we pulled it off.
Amazing.
We've gotten calls for, you know, okay, we need 500 records a year and a half from now. I mean, it's really, it really just depends on what the schedule of the week is, but our normal output is around 10,000 records a week. And we run a very short week. So we only actually run for like 3.5 days of pressing. So that when those big jobs come in, then we just add extra days and hours on the week.
Yeah. I remember someone saying to me semi-recently that there was like these long lead times in pressing.
There was when we started. They were 2 years out. When I started Physical Music Products, the average turnaround time was 2 years.
I think for my album, it was getting on for 12 months, basically.
Yeah. Now most of the industry is down to somewhere between 3 and 5 months on like the high end if it's something really complicated or the plant's really backed up. But everything we've done since the day we opened has been 5 to 7 weeks turnaround.
Okay. Wow.
And we're still at that normal pace for us. That's comfortable.
And do you mess
and it's because we don't wait on anybody. We are asking, we're like coming after people for their homework. Like, we need your art files, we need your audio files, we need a shipping address. Like, we're very proactive as a plant. Yeah.
And just like back to kind of where this all started, I suppose, and like being a mastering engineer and wanting to cut for vinyl. I mean, there's a lot like of myths around vinyl, just in terms of like, you know, particularly, you know, where they advertise the weight of the vinyl on the cover and things like that.
Yeah, a lot of it's marketing.
Yeah, I mean, are there, like, would you say, like, obviously sort of best practice in terms of like how much music, you know, the length of how much music you're trying to put on a side and things like that, you know, there's gonna be a drop off in quality, but is there like a sweet spot where it really is like, oh no, if you pay a bit more for this heavier vinyl, it will have a sonic impact?
No, vinyl, heavier weight vinyl does not have any sonic impact.
Right.
The stampers are made the exact same way. The record just has more mass to it. It's not that the grooves get deeper or anything like that. It's pressed the exact same way. We just start out with more plastic and we just press technically a thicker disc. And in fact, the other cool misnomer is that most plants, you know, I'm not throwing on any shade on my colleagues, but like a lot of plants are not equipped to press a heavyweight record because they're used to pressing a lighter weight record, and vice versa. Some plants, they only press heavy. Some plants, they only press light. We have very good, very, very good operators that are doing it on a, you know, like minute by minute basis, constantly making sure, because when you press a heavier weight record, it has more compound, so it holds more heat. And you have to adjust the cycle times of the steam time, the pressing time, and then the cold water cycle time, and then the finish time. Trimming also like gets changed. Like you'd think that, okay, we're just adding 20% more compound to the actual disc, but it's really that your entire thing. It's like the difference. It's like you could be really good at making New York style like thin crust pizza, and then like you go to Chicago and they're like, cool, here's a deep dish oven, like good luck. It's like you have to kind of know how to treat that record differently. It's not just as simple as, oh, I'm going to change out the mold and make a heavier biscuit. It's like,
right.
Yeah. And you should come down to the plant sometime if you guys ever like, if you ever want. Yeah, it's pretty neat. And there's also a bunch of sure, absolutely.
But yeah,
come through.
Good, can set you up on that.
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
Is there? I mean, one last. I'm now like
we're getting
asking to give a total
we're getting
breakdown.
very detailed on vinyl here.
Yeah. But one last one for me, because I just have hold my hands up. I have no idea. But like, you know, when it's see through and stuff like that, does that have any kind of impact using different materials?
Yeah. So
in terms of like audible, like, you know,
it can, and colors sound different. Clear colors sound different than black. White sounds different than other colors. A lot of it has to do with the pigments. All the pigments sound different, and they'll add noise and like scratchiness to the record. Black is a color. The actual normal color of PVC is actually kind of about like, it's like this kind of gray, alien gray kind of color.
Okay.
This is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like this could have been
Really
could have been what every record looked like.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like technically uncolored ones. Black is actually a really, really deep purple. And you know, clear colors versus opaque colors, black versus natural. They all have a different sound, and so you have to heat them differently. You have to treat them differently in the pressing process. And oh, by the way, we have to make 2 per minute per press before we're even making money, you know, in a day. Right. So, you know, it all happens really quickly, and you have to be very paying close attention, have to be very skilled at actually transitioning through all of these things too. And you know, that also causes a lot of extra cost in the record sometimes, because like even just to do a clean out, you know, people ask us like, wow, why is colored vinyl so much more expensive? It's like, well, because if you want a white record and we just came off of black on that press, it's going to take probably an hour or more to clean out the extruder before you don't have black streaks in your white vinyl.
Similar to textile industry, laundries,
exactly.
And screen printing.
And exactly. Yeah. There's a setup time, there's a clean out time, and so, and then, you know, one of the other things that we do at PMP is just, we are extremely hands-on in the audio side and the test pressing side. And so we don't, you know, we try as much as possible to, you know, if we do a test pressing, to leave that job on the press until it's been approved, and we get an approval usually within about 12 business hours, and then we're going right into pressing on the job, so we don't have any extra handling of the stamper, which is a very fragile, piece of nickel. It's the negative of the record.
Sure. Yeah,
so
yeah.
there's a lot, there's a lot of things that we've done to make little adjustments that basically prevent all of these crazy unforeseen problems that show up in the record making process, and that delay the job or cause extra money to be spent on the job or, whatever. So we are, we're very proactive in the process in finding the problems before they even become them and then eliminating them. So,
but you describe it in very kind of like pragmatic or sort of problem solving terms, like how you kind of got into this, or maybe, the reason that you said about making, an income stream for independent artists. But was there also like a, do you love records? I mean, like it's kind of an insane way to spend your time.
I'm going to tell you a little secret. I actually don't really like records that much as a format. I mean, there's something amazing about a really, really well pressed vinyl record, right? Just like the program material that's been recorded for that format, mixed down on tape, on a layback machine to the lathe, like never hitting a computer. Like there's some magic that is cooked into vinyl itself that is not available in digital, right? But 99% of records that get pressed have seen a computer. They were not recorded for the format. They were made by people that, there's like, if there's an edit tick, for instance, or like a bad, like in your vocal track, you didn't, do a crossfade between files, and there's like a, the lathe literally can't even cut that.
Yeah, it will just jump out of the
out of the
groove.
It could cause all kinds of problems, or the fact that, you really don't have a lot of low end and you really don't have a lot of top end on a vinyl record because the cutting stylus literally can't replicate that. But depending on where you're at geographically on the disc when you're playing, that stylus is riding the angle of incidence in the groove is like is constantly getting ready to go off axis. Like there's all kinds of problems to vinyl. You can't leave it in a hot car. You have to be careful with it. You can't scratch it. You can't you can wash it, but like you got to watch the label. It's really problematic, not counting even just like literally the signal to noise ratio on even a well-pressed record is so compromised compared to the digital high res,
of course,
24-bit recording that was made.
Yeah.
But there is something wonderful about it.
Yeah.
And
it's something tangible and physical and
so I'm about like solving the problem and getting the thing out to the artists to be able to sell to the fans, because there's and also there's not a lot of credits on digital files, like that's a place where like my colleagues can actually get credited for their work and things. But
it's
my wife though, she has 5,000 LPs in a specialized room that we built in a little standalone house in the backyard.
That's quite a collection.
So she's constantly the one I'm like, oh God, Catherine, like I kind of have to keep this up because Catherine's, she really loves her LPs. So
but I've had that thing where like you have a couple of friends round and we'd get records out, and the ritual of like getting up and putting them on and looking at the sleeve and like and doing that thing where out records you've heard a million times and you still own them on CD, like My Blue Valentine or Clouded or whatever it might be, or Beastie Boys or all this stuff, and it's just that thing of like active versus passive listening.
Love it. Yes. Absolutely.
Like it's that. And just like you going to the Prince Charles cinema, and it's crackly old film.
Well, you're watching film on actual film, 35mm, 70mm. It's a similar vibe, definitely.
And but it doesn't mean, but that's not to say that it's like, because there is this phenomenon of like stack it high, sell it cheap in vinyl. We've seen that, right? So we've seen like badly badly made records because they're sort of designed to be sold in clothes shops. You know what I mean? And then it's not really
and
a
that
thing.
that was coming up when I was just getting started in vinyl. And the other thing too, like, you know, people forget that a lot of you got to have an old guy to teach you how to make something like this.
Yep.
And a lot of the old guys either were still on staff in existing record plants or that have been going since the 50s or 60s, or they've retired or died. You know, so like the new crop of vinyl makers now, I mean, I'm going to a conference in 2 weeks, you know, where we talk about all these things called making vinyl. But like a lot of the newer vinyl record makers, and I kind of count myself as one of them, but I've been paying attention and I've done all of the research and I've found all the old guys to teach me how to do this, and I've paid them well. But like, I wouldn't have that knowledge and that information, and I certainly wouldn't have been able to stick with it as long as I have unless I had some basis of someone I could call when it's like, oh, this press is doing this thing and I can't solve it. I don't know what to do, and I call.
It's a craft.
You know,
It's like, you know, old guitars. You know, that you. The name of the first name of the person who put it, of the luthier who put it together, is in there, you know, and now it's like, they're made in factories, and you have to,
for
when
me,
you get
I'm all
one,
about
you have to
that.
make sure it's set up, you know, or someone like Sweetwater, they have to do that, they have to check, you know,
and,
they have to set up, you know.
It's like maintaining the lathes as well, right?
Exactly.
I mean, I think there's one person left in the UK who's the person we go to, and it's like, it's like,
there's only a couple of them here.
It's crazy.
And there is a new lathe company that's doing, you know, that's like making brand new lathes, but for the most part, you know, in the United States anyway, every record that's cut is on something that was made in the, you know, 50s through the 80s.
Yeah. Which is part of the charm,
and most of the presses like too.
Scary.
There's so many things like that. I mean, there was a guy who came around and he it was a present from my wife to me, and he fixed my extremely battered Technics 1210s, and this guy is so busy because it's like him and there's 2 other guys in South London. So he's just basically constantly going to like clubs or studios or venues or people's homes to fix their bloody 12.
And same with like a lot of the tape machines these days too. Same idea, you know, like there's only like one company that's relapping heads and they're about to stop. Like there's a lot of problems in this part of this, like, very hands-on mechanical part of the industry, where all of the things that we make for public consumption, that really matters. You can't just, you know, throw something through an interface and you know, have a $10 microphone and call it a day. Like the music industry will fall apart. You know, like there are so many people that want things to be great, and they can be great, but we're losing track of those people that can help maintain that stuff.
There's the old expression, and it's like knowing the price of everything but the value of nothing, you know, and it's like, when stuff's gone, like you can't just get it back.
Right.
You can't just pay more money to get it. You know, it doesn't work like that. You know, it's not like, I'll pay a load of money to get like a nice pair of shoes, and it's like, no, you got to look after someone who's learned how to make a great pair of shoes, you know, and that kind of stuff.
Same with like lacquer. I mean, there's, you know, when I think it was 2020 or 2021, I don't remember which year it was exactly, honestly, it was 5-6 years ago. The US based Apollo Masters company burned down, and with it went the Transco Stiles company. So the people that were, you know, making cutting styli in the United States and responsible for most of the world's lacquer supply was just gone.
Just disappeared overnight.
Just went up in flames.
Oh my
God. So now you've got this company called MDC in Japan that's making lacquers basically for most of the world. And so at the time, like, there was, you know, not only, you know, were we having, like, in the vinyl world, like, you know, compound rationing, paper rationing, nickel, the price of nickel went just skyrocketed, like, you know, and it's already really expensive to run a stamper company to begin with. But like then Apollo going up, then that caused everybody to be kind of put on a ration of lacquers. So then like you couldn't get, you know, more than just one box at a time kind of thing. So like it went out, you know, like you had to sort of either be grandfathered in and already have been an MDC customer, or like it was crazy.
Does this add to the kind of romantic, mythical vibe of vinyl?
It's not romantic, it's traumatic.
But how did you? So like, let we take a step back, like, because your journey. Like, are you from the Bay originally, or how? Yeah. So
I'm originally from Michigan.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, and then I ended up in the Bay via grad school in Norway, job with Bobcats in Florida, worked for the Banff Center in Canada, and then I ended up down in the Bay Area mastering records.
Did you? Because my interest in music production, music making was born out of playing drums, and I believe you started as a drummer, right?
Playing drums,
so how did you make that journey from drums to mastering? Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay, so just super quick version is I was a little jazz drummer. I was really involved in I played in big bands when I was a little kid, and was really interested in just percussion in general. Thought I wanted to be a music teacher. Kind of decided that I didn't want to have that thing that I loved be responsible for my income.
Okay. Yeah.
Which funny enough, that's where I'm at again in my life. But I started a degree in electrical engineering at University of Michigan, and then I ended up finding out that I could put my love of music and my love of technology and computers all together, and pursued a degree in audio recording, specifically classical recording, and large ensembles on location was what I was really into.
Okay.
To this guy.
Yeah. And so I did that, and I went off to Norway for grad school again, trying to just do location recording and classical and acoustic based stuff. But I got a job at a tape transfer facility. So I was, as far as I knew, the only one in this program that knew how to run a tape machine, and they kind of came to the program for interns. And so I went and I got a job there. And then the consulting engineer, he's in LA now actually, but he was a mastering engineer. So he was, sort of the guy that would come in and help calibrate the machines and make sure everything was sounding good. And we became, friendly, and he ended up inviting me over to the studio, and he was like, I'm a mastering engineer. This is what I do. And I was just like,
I've seen the light.
You mean that the person who encoded the CD text on my favorite record, I don't remember what it was at the time, but that has a typo that shows up in my car every time the text rolls across, that was the mastering engineer? And you mean that you can work on a different genre of music every single day, and you can be really tweaky, just same way I am with classical recording, but I can work on top 40 pop and rock and rap and hip hop and all that. And I was like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I was hooked immediately.
That's
Even just
pitch.
encoding PQs like that. I would just watch him for hours.
Yeah.
Building PQ sheets in Sonic, in Soundblade. It was so awesome.
I suppose it's a bit different now, but I mean, certainly when I was sort of young in this industry, or even younger, it was like mastering. I knew nothing about mastering. I didn't even know it was a thing. It's not. Yeah. It wasn't something that was talked about that
right.
much.
It wasn't, and it wasn't like this sexy thing that it is now.
Yeah, right.
Nowadays, everybody's like, "You're a mastering engineer." I'm like, "Yeah, it's cool now. It wasn't cool 20 years ago when I fell in love with it. It was just a bunch of old dudes in in a studio because they're like." It was a mixed bag. They were either really, really sweet and welcoming and so knowledgeable and just wanted to share that knowledge, or they were the exact opposite, and they were basically a mastering engineer because people wouldn't work with them as a mixing engineer because they had no people skills. You're just you're like a guy in a cave.
And also, and maybe a little bit protective of their knowledge and not wanting to share it.
Yeah,
the fear of whatever.
There's definitely some of that.
But all the women mastering engineers that I knew at the time, which there really weren't that many. Darcy Proper and Mandy Parnell were early mentors of mine, and they were just so cool, and they just shared everything they could with me, and they wanted me to know all the things and have confidence in the studio and stuff. And so, I had, even in the mastering world, I had the old guy or the old woman to teach me how to do it, and it was, without those people, I wouldn't be anywhere. And nowadays, I have a lot of people that come to me saying, I want to be a mastering engineer. They're getting ready to graduate school and everything. And I'm like, I can't even imagine trying to, if you only knew what, what I had to go through to actually like, because I had seen exactly what it took to master a record properly and to get that format conversion, that quality control, that like conversation and knowledge and authority on the process of mastering and getting it into the finished releasable format. Like I've seen the craziest mastering engineers make amazing things. And that's what I wanted to do. And it took me 4 years before I ever, like, working full time in mastering studios, before I ever actually felt like I was good enough to charge money alongside the person that I was working for that service. That I was actually like, that I could serve the project in a way that was deserving of income for it. And that immediacy culture that we have now, like this thing where everybody's trying to shortcut something.
Yeah.
It's like, that would not have flown back then.
Yeah.
You know?
And hopefully it doesn't fly now
It
in
does.
terms of cutting. Or...
Unfortunately, I mean, cutting is a different thing, but like, you know, now everybody wants to be a cutting engineer. It's like, I mean, Paul Stubblebine was my you know, original cutting mentor, and he had me down to the studio. And within like the first week or so, he said, "Look, I can teach you everything you need to know to cut a record in about a week or so. If you show up here for 8 or 10 hours a day, I'll teach you everything you're going to encounter for 80%, 90% of the projects." And he said, "But that last 10% is going to take you 20 years every day."
The magic, I guess, or the...
Yeah. It's got to bake. Like, you got to have that time and that experience. And he said, you know, so like when he said that to me, I mean, that really made an impact. And now, you know, like I think about that, even before I'm going to cut a record at any point, I'm thinking about what it really means to have someone entrust their music to me to begin the replication process. Because it's not as simple as just like, oh, start the lathe and cut the thing. Like, anybody can do that, right? But like, my favorite cutting engineers are the ones that are like additive to the process. It really is an art form to cut a record, and it is an art form to press a record as well. But like, yeah, I just think about that all the time. The first few years of my mastering journey were just like being very, like, seeing everything, you know, with reverence, and being very, very careful about ever feeling like I was doing anything other than, you know, adding to the process. Because like I'd watched bad mastering engineers too. Like, I knew what that looked like, and I didn't ever want to be that. So
yes, I mean, I spent over the course of a couple of years, when we were working on the Waves vinyl plugin with a mastering engineer, a guy called Jeff Pesh, and I still don't fully understand what was going on. I mean, when you say dark art, like really, it's incredible. I mean, just to witness it as well, to see it in motion is just a stunning thing, I think. Anyway, it's incredible.
Like, there are a few mastering engineers in the world, and I will dare say that I've like, I understand what it is, and that's what I always strive for. But like, there are very few people that can like nail, like zero in on the thing and nail it every single time. And most, like, a lot of really great cutting engineers like that are able to do that. They're able to put everything aside and get into that flow, and like, just it looks like dark arts from anybody else watching, but like, if you are really, really paying attention, you'll see that it's like, it almost looks easy for them, because they've done it. They've done it for the thousands and thousands of hours, and it just becomes like second nature. It's just part of the job. So,
are you conscious? I mean, like, you talked about, you know, number of mentors there, you know, be it like Bobcats or you know, cutting engineers that you met and things like that. Are you conscious now in terms of, like, because we're talking about lost knowledge and things, of that dynamic shift now, where perhaps you're that person who's kind of got to maybe, you know, hand over the torch? And I mean, you do things in terms of it, maybe it's slightly different, but you do things like when I saw you with Equalize Her at NAMM and things like that. So there's that. It's manifesting in that way in terms of like, okay, right, now it's my turn to kind of open the door a little bit. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think I'm still in a place where, like I'm just working all the time. And so like I don't always have time to have someone come in and teach them everything I know, right? But I do have a couple of really wonderful people that have spent years with me now, that I'm trying to pass information along to them because, one day they'll be a mastering engineer and they're the couple of people excuse me, that I've identified it's taken literally decades to find these people that are like, that have the exact same mindset and drive and thirst for knowledge and information that I did when I was coming up. So I feel like, they're, I wouldn't say worthy, but like they've demonstrated that if I say something to them and teach them something, they're going to take that knowledge and build on it and use it. And so I just, I love sharing knowledge with them. Of course, when I, do something like out in the world, like panel presentations or like talking to a group of young women engineers, it's for that, it's more like, I just want them to know that like, yeah, you just have to get in there and do it. You don't have to, don't be afraid of anything. Like anybody can do this stuff if they have the right drive and thirst for knowledge. Yeah. None of the things that we do as mastering engineers, as audio engineers, as music people in general, as business owners, none of those things that we do on a daily basis it's not rocket science. It's building on basics and fundamentals that you spent those 10,000 hours working on, right? Yeah. And then everything else is just growing from there. Yeah. But none of the tasks that we do as mastering engineer, it's stereo mastering and cutting. It's like EQ, dynamics, level, stereo image. Don't fuck it up, really. Okay. But it's more about the time that you spent sitting in the room, learning what great audio sounds like. Yeah.
I was going to
spending, just completely deconstructing the greatest records of all time and figuring out why those things are what they are, so that then when you get presented with something that has a drum sound from, a Bruce Swedian drum sound, that how to treat that. So then it becomes easy.
Yeah. So on that, when you moved from the Bay Area to here, was that surely that must be like a bit of a jar in terms of knowing your room and really trusting your room, right? Because you're going to a completely new environment. Have you got to start again?
Oh, it's a good question. So I had, at that point when I was in the Bay, I had worked in, that was my third studio that I had in the Bay. And funny enough, when I accepted the job to come out here and work for Infrasonic, at the time I was still operating my studio in Oakland. But so I was flying back and forth for about a year. And then the pandemic hit and Catherine and I just happened to be here in Nashville. And so we just stayed.
Right.
And we didn't go back to the studio, my studio in Oakland or her studio in Phoenix. We just stayed here in Nashville. And, and at the time I was really just coming to Nashville to cut records on the lathe. And Pete and I had the same speakers. We had the same front end on the console. We had a lot of the same gear. And so I felt like I felt really confident about the masters that I was making. Of course, I spent a few weeks, really getting acclimated to the room and testing things before I took on projects to master from Nashville. Yeah. But for a while, I really was just coming here to cut, and then I was flying back to Oakland to see my customers and musicians that I was working with in the Bay. Yeah. And they would just come to my studio there. Yeah. Cool. And then when after lockdown, then we ended up like going out and getting all of the equipment, and I passed the lease of my room on to another engineer that was in the Bay that needed a space to work out of. And then I just brought all my stuff here and put it all in storage, and I continued to work out of Pete's room for the next few years. Okay. But then we built a studio in the downstairs of the house, and it's pretty bitchin'. So
nice.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And when you take on a project, what's kind of, if there is a typical scenario, but I mean, do you have a conversation with the producer or the engineer or even the artist? I mean,
as much as possible, yeah. I try and get all the information I can. I get all the files, and then I'll make sure that that they're actually ready to master or cut. And then, hopefully there's either a quick consultation or phone call or exchange of emails of like what the goals are.
Who's normally saying that to you? Who is?
Anybody. It really depends on the project.
Okay.
I have producer and mixer clients that send me everything that they do for all of the artists that they work with. And so then they are mostly the conduit. Like the artist might have something specific that the producer or mixer will communicate to me. Or it's, I'm working directly with the artist. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. And do you ever kind of navigate sort of, or do you have kind of a toolkit or methodology for navigating strange feedback or confusing feedback or,
I love that. That's a great question. Yes, I always just welcome them to say something. Like, even if it's like, if you think I'm not going to pick up on it or not understand what you're saying, like just start and try, and I can then ask clarifying questions. But if they're just like, yeah, make it sound as good as you can. Like, sure, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Like it'll sound as good as it can. But, do you want it to sound like, is there something in particular you're looking for? Or if I send you something and you give me feedback, great, awesome. But now I've just wasted both of our time because we could have had a conversation and I could have sent you something immediately that it would have nailed.
Right.
Now we're in the revision process, and now I'm going to start losing perspective. And, now you're running out your timing on your release date. And like, it's like, I would have much rather had a conversation where they could have, even if they said, I want it to sound like plaid, I could say, okay, well, what kind of plaid? Like tartan? Or, like we could get into
not
something,
even the
right?
band plaid?
Not even the band plaid,
really, right,
like
really
fabric, whatever.
Yeah.
But I just, having any kind of communication like that is ideal. And the only times it gets weird is like, once in a while there's like a producer, somebody that'll come to me, or a mixing engineer actually more often, that they're like really worried about the mix or something, or they're really worried that I'm going to give feedback that the artist is going to think that they did something wrong. Like the mixing engineers, it's like they're like almost gatekeep the artist from me sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you have this game of telephone that you're constantly decoding.
Yeah.
And I don't like that.
I know mix engineers get that sometimes, where it's like producers don't want to sort of send things. You know what I mean? It's like, I think there's something wrong. Can you send me the session? They don't want to send the session. And it's like
we're in service of the project. Like, I don't care about your ego or what you're worried about. Like, I'm not going to say something that's going to embarrass you. I just want to help the artist make the best thing possible. And if you like have sent them a reference that was heated 6 months ago, that they love the sound of that, but I didn't get that.
Yeah.
And I'm providing them something that I think sounds good, but the artist is upset. Like, there's always this weird thing that happens when that information is kept separate. And it's almost never good for the project.
More information is always better than less, isn't it? In that kind of context.
Yeah.
Do you prefer for it to be attended or remote, or no preference really?
I like remote a lot.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
I used to have a lot of attended sessions in the Bay, but it's just because I had a nice studio for people to walk into. My studio here is in the downstairs walkout of our house. It's beautiful. It looks out into the ravine and
cool.
And into the woods. It's like really pretty, but like, you're going to hear a dog bark once in a while, or like, it's like not the most comfortable space for new people to just be walking into all the time. But
it can be intimidating as well, can't it? I mean, like, I just think, if you're, it's an incredibly technical process, potentially, and things like that. If someone's coming into a space they don't know, they feel like they don't have the language to
Then we got to sit together, and I just got to be like, all right, let's play something that so you can get acclimated to the speakers. And then, so I have the people that will want to come and do that, and I totally welcome it. But I also work really weird hours. Like, I'll be mastering at, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes. And it's like that, because that's the only time I have to get that single done.
Right.
In order to meet their release date, or whatever. But, more so I prefer to just sort of be able to go and work on it when I'm ready and able to, knock everything out. And then Colby, my assistant, now mastering engineer, actually, He'll do the exports and the uploads and the QC, and then I'll listen to it again, and then it goes out to the artist. So like there's multi-step process. But when I was in the Bay and I'd have a lot of attended sessions, a lot of times it was new people that had never been to a mastering session before.
Curious.
So I'm like, come on in, and they'd be there and they'd be booked out for like 3 or 4 hours to do a full album, and like they would always, after the first couple songs and they were feeling good, they'd be like, okay, I'm gonna go get coffee, do you want anything? And I'd be like, no, I'm fine. And then they just not come back. Because mastering, like watching mastering from the back of the room is like, it's like watching paint dry. It is so boring.
Right.
And so more often than not, that would happen. So when I do attendeds, I either say, okay, look, come for the beginning, the first couple songs, and then you can take off, or like come tune into the session. I'll send you an Audiomovers link. And we'll do Audiomovers, or it was, in the pandemic, it was a lot of Audiomovers and Zoom together, so that worked out really well, and I really enjoy doing that.
What's do you use analog do you use hardware and plugins or mixture?
Yeah, very hybrid setup.
Okay.
How's it changed? Because you did a really detailed breakdown in sound on sound, actually, and you really it was quite admirable, because you could tell
research.
there was no. I was like, you're not gatekeeping here. You really went into like, so I'll have this at minus and this at this and things like that. But yeah, has it changed? Is it constantly flowing? Is it, or are you like?
I think the gear. I mean, the gear in the console has been the same for me for the last 4 or 5 years for sure. So,
what does that chain look like?
Massilac MTC1 transfer console. I have a Mini Massive, an API 2500, a Waves L2, a Manly Slam Mastering Edition. A GML 8200, the old school one that sounds really good. A Rupert Neve Designs master bus processor. Yeah, those are like the main hardware things that live in there. And then I'll often, there'll almost invariably be a couple of fab filter things on the mix output before it hits the mastering chain, just to control like a little bit of bass and do a little bit of EQ fixing, so that I can then drive the hardware a little harder if I want to. It's kind of controlling it before it goes out, because music being produced today, like the mixes are very loud these days. So I have to kind of tone things down a little bit, so then that the gear can actually be an additive product. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, what's a common thing that you notice in masters that are sent to you that it's always like, oh, they've done this again, or this has happened again?
Yeah. So lately it's really just the level of the mixes are really hot, and I don't know why. They're not particularly. You'd think, they're not particularly loud. They're just kissing the top all the time.
So not enough headroom,
and they're not. There's not a lot of distortion anymore, which is nice. But the mixes are just hot.
Is that dependent on genre? Because on some genres, I could tell you exactly why that happens. Because, so like one of the ones I know is like in sort of K-pop and J-pop. It's like actually a lot of the mixing work and production work, the whole thing is done by producers almost, and there's like a top liner.
They're just like,
so they're sending stuff out, and there's like send tracks, and then they're sending it to label people who are going to like do playback and go like, oh, we like this one, we like that one. So they want to send it crushed, because the danger is that they just listen to somebody else's track before.
Oh, of course.
And if yours is not like balls to the wall, like then and then you get that. But then surely
but
you
like
can,
that a lot of producers are going to they're going to do heated mixes for sharing, right? And then they'll send me one without that process.
I suppose
on
it's weirder when it's the mix engineer. Totally. Yeah. I mean, can you just say like, there's something probably late in the chain that's like crushing this. Do you want to maybe take that off for me?
Yeah, we do that. But it's like, there's also a lot of times there's some magic about it that, it actually works out. But
sort of FL Studio limit.
Like maybe 3-4 years ago, I was getting a lot of people that I know for sure they were using headphones to mix.
Okay.
Because you'd be able to hear that the vocal and a lot of times the drums were really suppressed in the mix.
Right. Because you get really bad center image.
Exactly.
Don't you,
so like, the center image is now out. It's not out in front of you, and then in the speakers. it's right in between your ears, so you're feeling that everything feels louder in the center. So they were constantly pushing down that vocal.
Right.
That's not really happening so much anymore. It's
Perceptions
not
of
a lot
loudness
of
is
there's
fascinating.
not a lot of crazy distortion on it anymore, like there was when we had the loudness issues maybe 5-6 years ago, 7 years ago. Not a lot of that. I'd say yeah, I don't know. I don't have a lot of complaints right
Okay.
now.
Yeah,
Okay.
all right. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
It's not like there's nothing dramatic or sensational.
Yeah.
It's just like
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's just because the people that I've been working with for so long are,
Sure.
we've figured out
Yeah,
a way to
probably
work
that.
together that's great, or if the industry is actually getting better at submitting for mastering.
Yeah.
So,
I get a bit obsessed with kind of cleaning my low end out, right? Is that something you would
So to
recommend?
speak.
Sorry, that
It's
sounded
like,
completely wrong, didn't it?
Yeah.
yeah, you
Low
can
end
get
frequencies. Low
something
end
like that
frequencies.
from Walgreens if
Yeah,
you really need.
Help.
Yes, your low end frequency. There's a solution for that.
Yeah,
too.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
You knew we'd devolve into poop jokes at some
Alright,
point,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like that
Yeah,
would
we've
just
been-
happen.
we've
You're just
been-
going to take the piss out of me for the rest of this interview, aren't you?
I hope so. I hope that is my hope.
I mean, would you rather someone sent you something where everything below, I don't know, 40 is removed, or would you rather I'll deal with that? Thank you very much.
I'd
touch
prefer to
it.
deal with it,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Because it also, if they're starting to add to filter things, then they're going to start causing issues in the harmonics up the EQ spectrum.
Oh, really? So if you
yeah.
start messing around
Interesting.
down there, it's going to have a knock-on effect up
absolutely.
there. Oh,
Absolutely.
wow. Okay.
That's funny because I'll
Yeah.
chop that stuff out when I'm even just writing.
Yeah, that's what I just chop everything.
Look,
I'll straight away just go
high passing is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a very important tool. But don't do something just because you think that that's what I need it to be.
Right.
Make the mix how you want to hear it,
Yeah.
with the elements the way that you want to hear them. And then if there's a problem, I'm going to tell you, hey, there's something going on in the low end of the vocal. Can we maybe carve some of that out? And,
Do you have the opposite, like the converse, where you have a mix engineer sort of saying yeah, can you take a look at this, or there might be some weird harmonic stuff going on, and maybe you can help me?
Yeah, a lot of times they'll let me know what they're worried about, or if there's something that I do that then they're like, well, I was hearing it this way instead. I love that because then we're both learning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was speaking to a couple of the mastering engineers at Abbey Road. We do online mastering, and we are noticing, it doesn't happen all the time, but we're noticing a trend where people are just sending stuff just to get it listened to and to get feedback.
Yep.
And that seems to be quite.
Wow. Yeah.
And that was actually when we did the waves, on literally it's called online mastering.
Yeah.
That was my entire point of building that tool early on, and that just sort of became a marketable automatic mastering system that was very good. But I was really just trying to build something that mixing engineers and other mastering engineers could use to just have a litmus test, just
Right.
know this mix is good.
Yeah.
Here's what's going to
That's
happen to it
interesting,
when a
yeah.
mastering engineer starts working with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that thing where it's it's just we're seeing it. I mean, it's always been the case. I mean, we spoke to Chuck Ainley, and and he's worked with Peter Frampton and Mark Knopfler. Most people would think of them, those guys, as songwriters or guitarists, but actually they're I need to know how to make great records, so I need to know everything that's part of that. You know what I mean? And it's kind of the same thing. I think now there's a lot of people who are just doing everything, and they're working the door, and they're thinking about mixing their own stuff, and then they're exporting it, or they're printing it, and then they're mastering their own stuff because they're like, well, I want it to sound good.
Yeah.
I'm writing the song, I want it to sound good, so I need to know the stuff. How do I make it sound like that amazing song that I love? So what did they do? And it's it doesn't need to be that sort of very clear delineation.
Yeah.
Now it goes to the mixing engineer.
It doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
If in mastering, I always say, if you are doing the format conversion correctly, so it's either a tape to a digital master, or a digital master to a vinyl, a lacquer, if you're doing high res, 384 down to an MP3 and it still sounds great, then you've done your job. If you're, catching issues and catching errors so that they don't end up out in the world, And then if you're just beginning the manufacturing process properly, like that's mastering. That's all it is. The gear and the tool, like the tools and the transition from it being a mix to a master, like that's all just part of it. It's really, you don't have to say like, this is the mix and this is the master, because technically if the mix is that good, then we don't have to do anything. We just have to double check that there's no problems and it's going to translate to big giant speakers or little tiny phone speakers.
Yeah. This is possibly a redundant question just because you are you still have a big kind of outboard chain, but I'm sort of interested in the psychology of listening versus looking. And it sounds like a weird thing, but that increasingly is that phenomenon. So much stuff with plugins in the door, you can kind of look at the music rather than actually listening to what's there, and everyone, the memes of Pro Q, just like,
I mean, could you imagine like when we were all learning audio stuff, if you could like solo a band in EQ, like,
wow. Yeah, mind blowing.
Holy crap. I'm not like watching the RTA or anything. I mean, yeah, it's gonna like any tool that you have to inform you of what's going on, sure, but like if you're paying attention and listening properly, you don't really need anything like that. I know mastering engineers, like my friend Jet just built a studio in LA, and she's got most of the gear and everything behind her now.
Oh, wow.
So like she's just
so just focusing on using your ears.
Basically,
amazing.
Just like I've had to teach younger engineers, like, okay, you don't need an RTA to tell you what's going on in this music. Like you can listen with your ears and tell me what's missing or what's too much. And you can take an inventory of the instruments in there. And that's going to be way more telling to you of what's happening in the master once you start turning knobs and changing the output. If you know where you're starting, and you've taken inventory, like the tambourine sounds like that, the vocal sounds like that, and it's placed right there. The bass sounds like this, and it's placed right there. Like that's way more useful than watching a waterfall or something. But there is something that I have a pair of Duros that sit in front of me, and I have VU meters all over the place. But like I have the Duros, I always watch them, especially when I'm working on like pop music or something with like a lot of bass. I actually just watch them dance rather than like watching an RTA and FabFilter or something. I'll just watch the meters move. Because that to me tells me more about like how my ears or someone else's ears are going to hear it in a visual way. So like I'm not watching that, I'm kissing the red or something, but I am watching when it comes down how fast, like exactly how fast they're moving and with the music or not.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, I don't know that it's like a novel concept, but I was teaching someone how to like watch how their compression was working by just like literally watching the meters and listening to the music. And they were like, oh my God, I get it now.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. I mean, it's like, excuse me, it's that thing of similar but different. But I remember one of the only times where someone had put like a song that I knew really well, and they put it on like a really beautiful desk like this one, and I could just go, oh, okay. Oh, okay. You know what I mean? And it's like, actually, that's kind of a luxury now.
Yeah,
really.
It is, seriously.
Yeah. We're just about out of time. Maybe we wrap up. We sometimes do a little quickfire round.
Okay.
So it's kind of first thing that comes to your mind. There's no like just right or wrong answer, but just like throw things out. I'm sure you got some ideas of things we could do, but first thing that comes to mind. So
Cheeseburgers. Right now? Okay.
Yeah. I think we're gonna go Shotgun Willie's. You been there?
I haven't actually.
It's like Texas barbecue. Yeah. So I think we're gonna go straight.
20-minute drive out of town, so you got to commit.
It's gotta be worth it.
Oh yeah. Well, we mainly came all this way from London to eat barbecue, so let's
we'll never be allowed out again.
Can cut that bit.
Okay.
That's an edit note for my door.
Reaper.
Cool. I like Reaper.
Yeah.
When I first started using it, I hated it, but the more I used it, the more I grew to love it.
I fell into Reaper use just purely by necessity and a little bit by accident. I was a long time Sonic Studio. I mean, I've used them all for mastering and for recording. Like, of course, everybody had to learn Pro Tools, and I use that when I'm in a studio like this. But I know Pyramix, I know Sonic Solutions, Soundblade, I know Sadie.
Jinx.
Yep. But as Sequoia as well, and Wavelab. So like I know all the mastering DAWs. I've worked in all of them at various times in my career. But I was using Soundblade, and I actually went to a radar studio. When they made that new computer version of where they packed the radar converters into a standalone PC system. So it was like a whole.
When you say radar,
it was called the Radar Studio.
Okay, when you say radar, I just think
the
of
converters.
those hard disk recorders from like the early 2000s. Which scared the hell out of me, but that's another story.
But they're amazing, and the converters were amazing.
Yeah,
right. But like, the hard disk recorder was a pain in the ass to use if you're trying to use it for anything other than literal session work, right? And you didn't have a good Pro Tools rig moving. But the but the converters were awesome, and I had a radar. Just totally random, but I was great friends with Barry, who owned Radar and built Radar for years and years. But he was like, I want you to try this new thing out that I'm building. And I was like, okay, cool. So he sends it to me, and it had my Ultra Nyquist converters in it. And I was like, wow, I love this for mastering. It sounds amazing. It sounds as good as my Soundblade rig. But also I was like, my Soundblade rig was starting to get really long in the tooth, and I needed a new computer. And so I kind of went over to this Radar Studio thing, and but it was a PC only, and you can't run Soundblade on a PC.
Right.
So I went into that, and it was supposed to be able to run Sequoia or Pyramix, and I was going to work in Sequoia, but we could not get it to work for more than 2 channels out at 96K, and for mastering you need 4 channels out. So it was just a nightmare, but I got Reaper running properly on it. And so I started poking around in Reaper, and I was like, holy shit, this thing is awesome.
Yeah,
and you can, because there's so much stuff that you can do that's just like, it's a no-brainer. It's so easy, and you're like, why doesn't Pro Tools do this? Why doesn't Pyramix do this? Why doesn't Sequoia do this? And like, it's like all together.
It's interesting. I came out of it out of necessity as well. Where I started exploring ambisonics about sort of 6 years ago. And it was the only DAW back then that allowed you to record in high order ambisonics.
Yep.
It was. I've got.
Technically,
I've got some love in my heart for
Soundblade could do it too. It had the ambisonics panner as well.
Okay.
But again, it was still like super buggy and super hard to use, and like very unstable. And so like I just Reaper is the only thing that sounded as good as Sequoia or Soundblade, that worked really, really well on a Mac or PC, that also would let me do clip effects and clip gain and make a DDP, and was rock solid and didn't cost like $5,000.
It's pretty amazing.
Really is. Isn't it incredible?
Yeah.
And so I started using it just out of necessity on that Radar machine while they were working on a patch to get me back into Sequoia. And I just was like, why would I go back? This is awesome.
Wow. Yeah.
So now I've been in Reaper for probably like nearly 10 years now. So yeah.
Nice.
Are we still doing Quickfire?
Oh, sorry.
Rapid.
No, it's brilliant.
Rapid Quickfire.
Well, I know you were going to ask me the question, then you were going to ask me a follow-up on my answer. And I was like, I'm just going to finish this up
the
for
old
you.
1-2 punch. Monitors.
PMC, BB5, XBDs, Bryson active monitoring.
Tape.
ATR. Taped formula, you mean? ATR?
How does tape make you feel? Like, what is it?
Tape's the greatest playback and recording medium for audio.
Cool.
I mean, if it really was practical to work in tape all the time, I would absolutely do that over any other format.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Lathe.
Catherine, my wife, has like literally like 14 tape machines in the house.
Excellent.
So
I recently got a Yamaha 4-track cassette with a little mixer on it.
Aww.
I love it. It's so much fun.
That's
it's got
awesome.
it's got two speeds and very speed, and it's
Awesome.
just so much fun.
You know they're becoming expensive now.
Because I just said that.
No, yeah. You're an influencer. No,
a massive influence, yeah.
No, like people are buying like Tascam tape machines.
The Tascams are more expensive,
and they're like pushing them up on eBay, like sky high. It's like, what is going on?
Not helping. Yeah. Anyway,
lathe, yes.
Yes.
We have a Scully that we've been getting ready to go online for physical music products, and then also, I mean, I've worked on Neumann's and. Yeah, there's one here actually, one of those brand new silly toe lathes that my buddy Duncan runs. He does a lot of cutting for PMP, and so there's a couple to choose from now. It's nice.
Okay,
Yes.
Headphones?
No thanks.
Just
fair enough.
I have the LCD. I actually really like. I have a pair of Audeze LCD. The little magneplanar. The inner style ones that I love. I don't like head crushers personally.
Is that to check how
anything.
The real world would be listening to a lot of music, right?
No, I mean sometimes every once in a while I've got to master something on the road, and you know, so like I'm just gonna or I'll check something, or I'll literally Audiomovers into my system via TeamViewer at home and make a master revision if I have to using my system. So like having a good pair of headphones.
Do you
on the road all the time?
You sort of started to ask that. I feel like translation.
I know where you're gonna go.
Referencing. Yeah. Are you?
I mean, I just know my system so well that at this point, like I trust my room and my speakers in my listening spot more than I'd trust anything else. Yeah.
Fair play. Day session, night session.
Night.
Nice. Okay.
I'm a night owl.
Cool.
I don't like doing things during the day.
There's still a little Bay Area in there. You're not fully Nashville.
No, yeah, the Nashville schedule. I don't think I could do it. Yeah, I don't think I could be like a studio engineer in Nashville because they start everything like right at 8 or 9 a.m. and you're going, and then you're out by 4 or 5 p.m. and you're like, that's not for me.
Too civilized, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, Piper, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks for talking to us.
This was fun.
It's been amazing.
Yeah.
Nice one.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was fun.
Cool. Thank you. Oh, and thank you to Alicia and Dan at Gold Pacific for having us today. Absolutely amazing place in Berry Hill. Come check it out. Please like and subscribe. We're going to put all of Piper's information about physical music products and all the good work you've done, all your mastering credits and so on. So yeah, check it out. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.